Okay, so when you think of Leonardo da Vinci, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably the Mona Lisa, right? Or maybe just an old guy with a long white beard. But what if I told you that painting, that was just his side hustle? What if he was actually a man from the future who got stuck in the 15th century? Today, we're going to crack open one of the most incredible brains in all of human history.
And really, that's the big question here, isn't it? Was he just the amazing artist we all learned about in history class? Or was he something more? Something so far ahead of his time, it pretty much defies any logical explanation.
Just look at this. On one side, you have the myth, the stuff everyone knows him for. But on the other side, that's the reality, hidden away in his private notebooks. We're talking sketches for machines that shouldn't exist for another 500 years. And that is where our story really gets interesting.
To really get this guy, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. And trust me, it was not a glamorous start. In fact, his origins were pretty awkward, but they basically set the stage for everything that was to come.
So, he was born in a tiny little village. And here's the kicker, he was an illegitimate child. Now back then, that was a huge deal. It meant no family inheritance, and more importantly, no formal education. But honestly, this might have been the best thing that ever happened to him. Because he wasn't stuck in a classroom memorizing old books, the entire world became his teacher. He learned to trust his own eyes, to actually observe things for himself. He even poked fun at himself, calling himself an uneducated man. But here's the thing. This so-called uneducated kid, driven by a relentless curiosity, grew up to become maybe the most knowledgeable person in all of Europe.
And it didn't take long for people to realize this guy saw the world differently. When he was just a teenager, his talent was already so off the charts that it led to one of the most legendary stories of his entire career.
His dad got him a job as an apprentice for a super famous artist named Verrocchio. One day, the master gave him a pretty small task. Hey kid, go paint that little angel in the corner of this big painting. Well, when Leonardo finished, Verrocchio's jaw just hit the floor. The shine on the angel's hair, the depth in its eyes, it was so lifelike it was almost spooky. It was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. And the legend, which is just incredible, is that his master was so completely and totally outclassed that he snapped his own paintbrush in half and swore he would never paint again. I mean, think about that. As a teenager, Leonardo had already surpassed the masters.
But listen, the paintings are just scratching the surface. To really understand what was going on in Da Vinci's head, we have to plug into his actual brain's hard drive, the thousands upon thousands of pages of manuscripts he left behind.
Yep, that's right. Over 7,000 pages of his notes survived. This is our direct, unfiltered window into his mind. It is an absolutely unprecedented look at how a genius's mind actually works. It's kind of mind-boggling. And these notebooks are full of mysteries, starting with the fact that he wrote everything backwards. You literally need a mirror to read it. Now, why would he do that? Some people think it was a secret code, to protect his revolutionary ideas. Others think it was way simpler. He was left-handed, and this was just a practical way to keep from smudging the ink.
And what's inside is just this beautiful, brilliant chaos. You'll find a shopping list right next to a super complex math problem, a silly joke scribbled next to a detailed breakdown of how birds fly. It just shows you his brain was always on, constantly fizzing with energy, jumping from something totally mundane to something world-changing.
But of course, a brain like that has its downsides, and Leonardo's fatal flaw was a massive case of procrastination. And the funny thing is, it was his own genius that caused it.
He was probably the most frustrating guy to hire in the entire Renaissance. He'd take on all these huge commissions, but he almost never finished them. The famous Adoration of the Magi, for instance? Yeah, he just kind of walked away from it when it was still a sketch.
So you gotta ask, why? Why abandon what could have been another masterpiece? Well, the answer is simple. His curiosity was a runaway train that he just couldn't stop.
He'd be in the middle of painting, and suddenly his brain would just go, wait a minute, how does light actually bend? Or, I wonder how those arm muscles really work. And that was it. Brush down, he had to go do the research. For him, the real thrill was in solving the puzzle, not in handing in the finished assignment.
All right, now we're getting back to that whole time traveler theory, because when he put his paintbrush down, he turned into this wild inventor, and the stuff he was cooking up, it's just unbelievable.
We're talking about detailed designs for an armored tank, a diving suit, a parachute, even a prototype helicopter. I mean, come on, these are things that the world wouldn't actually see for another 5 centuries. It's like he was working from a textbook from the future.
And his quest for knowledge had absolutely no limits.
To really understand the human body, which he called the most perfect machine, he would sneak into graveyards late at night and dissect over 30 human corpses, all by himself.
And this is what came from that grisly work. He drew the inner workings of the human body, the heart valves, the muscles, with the precision of a modern mechanical engineer. His drawings are so freakishly accurate that even doctors today look at them and are just completely amazed.
Which brings us right back to where we started, that painting. In his final years, it's said that Da Vinci carried the Mona Lisa with him everywhere he went. And that's because it's not just a portrait, it's the grand summary. It's the final paper on his entire life's work.
Just think about it. That mysterious smile? That's not just art, it's pure science. It's his special sfumato technique, which came directly from his studies into optics and how our eyes perceive light. The rocky landscape behind her? That's his geology research. The reason she looks so unbelievably real? That's what decades of secret dissections get you. He never stopped working on it, tinkering with it, until the day he died.
So, you see, the Mona Lisa is so much more than a painting. It is the final answer from a man who spent his entire life trying to decode the secrets of the world around us. It's the moment where his science and his art finally became one and the same.
So, after all that, what do you think? Artist, scientist, or maybe, just maybe, something else entirely? I guess that's the one puzzle he left behind for us to solve.